Let's go, let's go. Not on my age, you're taking over. I'll do it.
All right, we have, bylaws committee by the judge advocate, Bogdan Hitvansky.
Okay, we had bylaws committee meeting and we reviewed, first of all, before I begin, has everybody picked up a copy of the draft bylaws from back at the table over there? And a new copy and the old copy, so you can compare. All right, good. And has everybody taken a look at it, scanned it? Who has and who hasn't? Okay, good. All right. The bylaws committee met, and the bylaws committee consists of myself, Mr. Voldemir Dudic, Lieutenant Brandon Fitzot, and Sergeant Natalka. C, right? Okay, good, I got that right. And I'm sorry, you, and our Joe Nasevich also. All right, so we went through the changes, the proposed changes of the new bylaws, and the committee had no heartburn on what was proposed. There was one issue that was brought up initially was the fact that is Coast Guard Reserve a member of the armed forces?
Yes, it is.
And it is,
Yeah,
yes.
not the auxiliary, the reserve.
The reserve, correct. And there was a question that was brought up before, whether a member or not could be, was it auxiliary? Who brought up the question? Coast Guard. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Rule 32, we have two members of the Coast Guard, reserve, and we have identified them as associate members. Well, we believe, and I think that the convention will agree, that we believe that they are members of the armed forces.
Correct.
And they deserve to be active members of the UAV, and so that is, just want to clarify that, so that when we go back home, we can just take those
Correct.
hats off.
Yeah.
Identify.
And they
We want to build our organization, not shrink it.
correct.
Well said, Walter.
All right. One question, because I need to get through this thing. It's going to take quite a while, and I don't want to get sidetracked.
Yeah, I, not to stir the pot, but I sensed there was some disagreement yesterday regarding the folks that belong to the public health service.
We'll go through all that.
All right,
Okay. Yeah. All right.
back on.
All right. So the way I'd like to conduct this meeting, I'd like to have everyone pick up a copy of the draft, and we're going to go through it, and I will go through each section. And I will read it, or if you feel that you're comfortable with it, then we'll go on to the next section. And then at the end, I would like a thumbs up or down on the entire document. I don't want to kick.
I disagree totally. I think we need to vote on every single item, every time, because thumbs up and down, there may be sections, not everybody. And I make a motion that we go through every single piece individually and vote on it. And since you're proposing this at a convention, you can give us 60 days. Every single item is gonna have to be passed unanimously.
That came out of committee. As
It's come out of committee, doesn't matter.
if you look at the proposed changes, some of them are just moving from one part of the bylaws to another. It's cosmetic and it's not substantive. I think, my opinion is, we can go through the entire document, because some of this is, not controversial. Go through it. If you have a problem with a specific part, please notate at the end of the presentation of the entire bylaws, then you could bring up, I have a problem with this part, that part. And then if you want to require the vote on that individual part, we can do so. I would think that the adjutant has put this together, put the committee of 5 of us together. We went through it in detail. We agree with his suggestion, with whatever changes we did make, which was minor. And I think that if the convention decides that it is worthy of passage, we pass it. If it's not worthy of passage, we just deny it, and then we start from scratch. And I would also suggest those who are opposed to it volunteer for the next committee. Because this gentleman put so much work into this, you wouldn't want to believe, okay? So that's my suggestion, that we go through it, leave the comments towards the end,
Correct.
and then we can have our votes individually or as a unit.
That doesn't make sense.
Okay?
Thank you,
Good enough.
Walter. And by the way, Don is gonna explain that there's some things in there that it's not just you're changing a sentence or two. It's like Walter said, just moving stuff around to make it more, because remember, we kept modifying the constitutional bylaws over the years. And I'll admit, I did it for what, 6 or 7 years when I was a judge advocate. And sometimes you don't really go back to another section and realize, you know what, we just repeated what we had there. So let Bogdan at least present it, and then we'll decide, is it too much or?
And most of the changes and is for clarity or amplification. There's nothing really substantive that's in the document that changes except for one area in the Constitution. And we'll address that as we go through. So what I'd like to do again is sit down here and I will read it, or you can read it with me and go along with me. And then at the very end, we'll address each point, and then you can let me know what you think. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, there's a motion on the
I'm
floor.
Oh,
There's a motion on the floor.
Oh, there's a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody seconded it?
Nope.
No, it wasn't second.
Nobody second.
Peter Benzak seconds.
Okay.
Peter
withdrawn.
seconded.
We would choose motion.
Okay.
Yeah, the motion was withdrawn,
I'm
Peter.
ignoring you, it's just that I thought because. Okay.
Second is withdrawn.
Process
you.
will be, if there's an objection to something, we'll have to vote on it. What?
Correct.
It'll go
Okay.
through.
Correct.
So that's fine.
Let me pull this over here.
It's not a conversion.
Oh,
Let me change this over.
we're recording this too. This is for posterity.
That was. Okay, so you're,
And I believe in the convention here, it's 2/3 majority of vote, correct?
Incorrect.
All right.
Incorrect.
Incorrect?
Incorrect.
what is it then?
This was submitted 60 days before.
Because we got these documents at the convention, the vote has to be unanimous. In order for that to be a 2/3 vote, it should have been done months ahead of time.
It was. I did it.
But nobody got this information.
Hold on a second, quote unquote, from the thing, it says amendments without prior notice. This constitution may be amended at any national convention without notice when properly moved and voted unanimously by the registered delegates present at the convention. Section
That's what I
2.
just said.
Proposed amendments, a proposed amendment submitted by the Constitution Bylaws Committee to the convention should require 2/3 vote of the delegates present. That came out of the committee. So it's 2/3 only.
No, it is.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Read what you just said. Read it again.
You're right,
Again,
it
Read
came
it
out of
again.
committee.
Read it again.
I did. Which part? One or two?
One. Read it.
One doesn't apply because this came out of committee.
No. You're not the judge advocate, buddy. He is.
He is.
That's
It
right.
came out of his committee.
Correct?
Listen, let him talk, not you.
All right. I will go along with him because if he's a little bit more knowledgeable, I'm here in a new position. So if his
Can he
statement
wait?
is saying,
No position.
So is he.
So is he.
I was the judge advocate, and I'm telling you that the rule is, in order for this to be a 2/3 vote, it would have had to been sent out to all the posts 60 days prior, not.
Doesn't say that.
it doesn't say that. It says it has to be submitted into the judge advocate 60 days prior
Right,
for inclusion. I am the judge advocate.
and then you should have passed it on.
No, it doesn't say that in the bylaws. It does not say that in the bylaws. It says it has to be given to the judge advocate at least 60 days in advance. If I am the judge advocate and I'm doing it, I've just authorized this. So therefore, 2/3 counts. Any objections?
You know what, by the way, if you don't mind, he's right, when you go to the next section, it does say a post, or State Department must submit their proposed amendments to the Constitution and National Judge Advocate at least 60 days before the National Convention, which is totally correct, as you guys said. However, it says, it continues, the National Judge Advocate shall prepare and present to the Constitution and Bylaws Committee of the National Convention such recommendations made by the posts and or state departments for discussion, and if merited, presented before the delegates of the convention for a vote. So it's true, his discretion as the judge advocate in his committee, that's the purpose of it. So, and at that point, when you amend it, that's when the 2/3 are done. It's if you make it on the floor a change, that's what needs to be unanimous.
And the change was not made on the floor.
Unless we do it, I mean, again, what we want to do is go back to anything that's objectionable and then discuss it.
Right. Okay. First change is on page 3 of the draft. This is a major change, okay? And it's a paragraph added to section 1 of veterans. And the purpose of the change is to open up the UAV to Public Health Service and National Oceanic Administration members. Any person of Ukrainian descent shall be eligible for membership in the Ukrainian American Veterans Incorporated if such person has served full-time duty as a commissioned officer in the Public Health Service or the National Oceanic Administration and has been honorably released from full-time service. Now, the rationale behind that is, if you look around, most of us are in our mid-70s. In 10 years, half of this population is going to be gone. And if you restrict right now the membership where you can possibly get additional members, I'm not saying you're going to have plenty of members come in from those two uniform services, but you may have some members come in. It will help our organization, all right? And just for a little bit of food for thought, I approached the American Legion as well as the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and I asked them point blank, do you have Public Health Service and other uniformed services as members? The American Legion said no. I was surprised that the VFW came online to me and said, we are proposing the same issue in our 2025 convention in Columbus, Ohio. So they are looking at the same thing. Memberships are dwindling, people are not joining. So if you want to keep an organization live, you got to recruit new members and get out there and, like was said before, get some new blood in here. Otherwise, in 10 years, you're going to be half the size we are right now. So that was the idea behind the adoption of bringing in the NOAA and Public Health Service. That's the first change. I'm not taking any comments right now. We'll address everything at the end of this meeting. Okay.
I don't have a comment, I have a question, but that's okay.
Let's address it at the end of the meeting. Second change was on page 5, and it's not visible there, but there was a double B at section 2, paragraph B. It was double B there, so I just eliminated 1B. The next major change comes under section 6 of Article 1, and it talks about nominating and voting. And basically, what I did was I revised those paragraphs to fit it and make it a little more clear and had it flow a little bit better. And I will let you read that, and you can give me a heads up, or I can read it for you. What would you prefer?
We all had access to it.
Okay. So then take a look at that, and I'll give you 2 seconds or more than 2 seconds. I'll give you about a minute to read it, and then I'll go on to the next change.
The copy I have online, this is Peter Benzak, Chicago. The copy I have online, the red writing is very difficult to read on the screen. So
I will go ahead and read it to you then. It says nominating and voting. All post commanders, state commanders, and past national commanders shall be on the nominating committee. The national commander shall appoint a past national commander as a chairperson of the nominating committee. He/she shall submit a written report of the nominees for each elected office to the convention body. Paragraph B. Voting at the National Convention shall be closed ballot on position for the National Executive Board unless the candidate is unopposed. Voting on all other matters will be determined by the National Convention to be by closed vote, voice vote, show of hands, or roll call vote. Paragraph C. Additional nominations may be made from the convention floor. Paragraph D. A majority of all votes cast shall be necessary for any elective office. A majority vote shall be binding except when otherwise stated in the constitutional bylaws. In the event that no one candidate receives 50% plus one of the votes, then the highest two candidates shall be the only candidates to be voted for the second ballot. Paragraph E, a post commander can designate a member of his or her post to represent him or her if she cannot make it to the convention. Such designation must be made in writing prior to the UAV National Convention. Section 7, committees. Each member post in good standing shall elect one delegate to serve on such committees as prescribed by the national commander. The committees will be chaired by the board member responsible or appointed by the national commander. The chairperson will submit a written report to the convention. All right. Next change
Thank you.
is section 6 under Article 2, vacancies.
Page 7.
Page 7, correct. Now, in the, when we met as a committee, the committee recommended that we delete a certain portion of the sentence in there. And I'll read the entire paragraph, and then I'll read the portion that is going to be deleted from that paragraph. Each NEB position, where possible, will have a designated NEB alternate to fill that position. Designated in the event of a temporary or permanent incapacitation or demise of the presiding National Executive Board member. The designated alternate will hold that vacated position until the subsequent national convention, when a new member may be elected. Preferably, the designated alternate will have held a position previously. If not, the individual will familiarize him or herself with the duties and responsibilities of that position during their tenure as vice. Now, what was deleted was the sentence at the beginning of the paragraph, all after the word that says to fill that position. What was deleted was in the event of a temporary or permanent incapacitation or demise of the presiding National Executive Board member. That portion of the sentence was deleted. Okay. Next change is Article 3, Section 2, National Vice Commander. Partway down, it states in the paragraph regarding the National Commander, the National Vice Commander, I'm sorry, page 8, I'm sorry, page 8.
Bottom right.
Section 2, National Vice Commander. If you scan the halfway down, it says the National Vice Commander shall, upon death, and I inserted medical incapacitation, resignation, or removal of the National Commander, assume the position of the National Commander for the remainder of the term. The Vice Commander, at his or her discretion, this is an insert, may continue to perform both duties as National Commander and Vice Commander, or may request the National Executive Board elect an interim Vice Commander from amongst their members. The next change or insertion comes under paragraph or page 11, Article 4, uniforms. And it was paragraph B. The option of wearing an embroidered shirt, and it says Vishivna Sorochka, is at the discretion of the post for post activities and special events. When authorized, all members must be in the same uniform, i.e., and that needs to be corrected there, an embroidered shirt. What was stricken from that paragraph was Vishivna Sorochka. It was thought to be redundant. The next change comes under paragraph D of the same article, section 5, paragraph D. Typical period of wear for the summer uniform is from June through September. Post commanders have the discretion to amend the period based on the post geographical location. That means if you're in a hot climate, you're not going to be wearing Class A uniforms in mid-July. So you have that discretion, or even in mid-September, October, November, whatever. Paragraph E states, wearing and placement of the name tag and or military awarded ribbons on the blazer or summer uniform shirt will be in accordance with the uniform regulations as referenced in the UAV Standard Operation Procedures Manual. That manual has been around for ages. This one needs to be updated also. I will take a look at that to see what can be done for that.
Oh, by the way, there's a typo, operating procedures, not.
Okay, all right.
No, it's just a typo. No, yeah.
We'll need to correct that. Otherwise, it will remain remain in
I
there.
know I was supposed to wait to the end, but I figured something like that, let's get it
Standard operating,
operating procedures.
okay.
You know, I have it right here.
Okay. Oh, on that one.
Yeah, because you're referencing.
Right,
this
right,
document.
right, okay. The next changes come under Article 5, membership. Basically, under sections 1, 2, and 3, you had duplicate words where it says membership application, and then it said application again, or induction, or membership cards. I struck that out because it's redundant. You don't need to repeat that twice. The next change comes under section 5, expulsion. The paragraph reads, no member who has, page 12, if you're following along. No member who has been expelled by a post shall be admitted to membership in another post without the consent of the expelling post, except where such consent has been sought and denied. Said person may then appeal to the executive board, and I inserted of the state because it's implied there, but it wasn't specified there, of the State Department of the expelling post for such consent, and shall be ineligible for membership until such consent is granted. If, and here's the insert, if the individual is a member of the post that does not have an executive State Department board, they may make their appeal to the National Judge Advocate, who will then present it to the National Executive Board for a vote.
And if Ron was here right now, I could just imagine how happy he would be.
The next change comes on page 13 under judicial procedures. And that's not really a change, but we talked about charges against an individual based on disloyalty, neglect, duty, dishonesty, whatever. That probably needs to be specified at a later date, because what one person thinks is disloyalty, another person may think that is not being disloyal. So we need to kind of codify that down the road. The next major change comes in section 3 called right of appeal. And I'm sorry.
Paragraph G and H.
I'm sorry, yes, you're right. I missed that one. Paragraph G. The committee referred to in paragraph B hereof shall render a decision of for cause or no cause. Then inserted the words, this decision shall be submitted to the echelon executive board for action. The executive board, in this event of a decision for cause, shall issue a letter of censure, and that is an insert there, issue a letter of censure, suspend or expel the accused member, an officer may be removed from office. Following paragraph of that is section 3, right of appeal, and there was some major revisions here that I pulled from other sections and added and deleted certain paragraphs. And as it states, members, both accuser and accused, shall have the right to appeal all decisions to higher echelons. The order of judicial appeal will be as follows. Post Executive Board, State Department Executive Board, State Department Convention, National Executive Board, National Convention. Then paragraph B, that first line, that first sentence has been deleted by the bylaws committee as being not necessary. So the rest of the sentence rest of the paragraph shall read, all appeals shall employ procedures outlined under Article 6, and it should be section 3 alpha. Appeals will be made by formal letter stating why a member feels he or she, and should be inserted in there if there hasn't been done that yet, is being unjustly charged and submitting any additional evidence or circumstances not presented at the original hearing that will exonerate, vacate, mitigate the appeals board decision. An appeal from a decision for cause must be presented to the National Executive Board in writing within 60 days from the date of the findings of the fact. Judicial decisions made at the National Convention shall be final. Again, most of these changes have been realigned from other areas in the document. Next major section revision under or change has been section 5, and that's just a straight copy and paste from somewhere else. It says witnesses and testimony and evidence. National Executive Board shall have the power and the right to require witnesses, additional testimony and evidence to assist in arriving at the decision. Section 6, National Executive Board, I inserted the word judicial decisions may be affirmed or modified or set aside by the National Executive Board on recommendation of the National Judge Advocate, and notice of said action shall be sent to all lower echelons. Section 7 is a cut and paste that was elsewhere in there. The National Executive Board members. National Executive Board shall handle the matter of discipline of its own officers and State Department commanders. Persons subject to such disciplinary action may appeal to the next national convention. Next change is Article 7, rules and procedures for the discipline in posts in state departments. Section 1, again, this is an amalgamation from other paragraphs that were under, I think, Article 6. And you can refer to your original 2021 bylaws. Section 1, disciplinary action. In the event of noncompliance or misrepresentation of the UAV national constitution and bylaws by any state department or post, that state department or post will be subject to possible disciplinary action, including suspension or revocation of their state or post charter. Section 2, detrimental conduct. No post or state official shall conduct himself or herself in a manner detrimental to the Ukrainian American Veterans Incorporated. For the good of the order, post or state officers shall not disparage or defame the UAV Incorporated or its members. Article 8.
Yeah, wait one. Are you doing typos and grammar? We
Go
said
ahead
we
quickly.
would. Yeah, the inactivation doesn't have a dash. It's one.
Yeah,
word.
we've caught that.
And then secondly, grammar. In section 2, it's not less than, it's fewer than.
Okay.
And again,
Section 2 of Article 7.
Article 8.
Article 8, okay. Because Article 8 is a direct cut and paste from the last one. And where's that line?
Section 2, third line.
Third line down.
section 2, third line should say fewer, not less.
Fewer, okay. 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 I will begin from section 2 then. That's inactivation. Upon recommendation from the National Executive Board, the National Convention may place a post on inactive status when fewer than 5 members remain on its rolls or when the post does not register and send per capita dues to the National Finance Officer for 1 year. It is further provided that any post, State Department, or majority of its members thereof may at any time formally petition the National Executive Board in writing for an inactive status not to exceed a period of 2 years. And if application for reinstatement is made before the expiration of that period, reinstatement shall be automatic and without penalty by the approval of the National Executive Board. Section 3, loss of affiliation. An inactive post shall in no manner hold itself out in its local community as an active Ukrainian American Veterans Incorporated post affiliated with the national organization. Section 4, readmission. In the event, this is paragraph A, in the event that a member post, State Department, shall withdraw from the Ukrainian American Veterans Incorporated and subsequently request readmittance into the national organization, said post, State Department must submit an application for readmission in writing together with per capita tax based on membership either as of the time of withdrawal or time of application for reinstatement, whichever is greater. Said post or State Department may then be represented at the next following convention without a vote and without the power to run any of its delegations for national office. Upon approval or readmission by the convention body, said post, State Department will be reinstated, provided that their convention delegation shall have no vote or power to run any of its delegation for the national office at that or the next following national convention. The requirements of paragraph hereof shall be applicable in all situations, provided, however, that if the post or State Department upon application for readmission is able to show good cause for its prior withdrawal and said cause has been investigated and substantiated by the National Executive Board, the convention body shall have the discretion to remit or suspend the aforesaid penalties in whole or in part. Section 5, there needs to be a space added after the 5. With respect to the provisions of this article, the National Executive Board shall take steps when circumstances demand to protect the integrity of the national organizations. Section 6, there needs to be a space in between the dash in there. Any National Executive Board action taken against a post under this article may be appealed by the post at the next national convention. Section 7, quorum, an inactive post shall not be any factor in determining a quorum at the national convention. That is in summation, I think I've touched on all the major changes that were in the document.
So in section 4, just a couple of grammatical changes. You've got readmission again with a hyphen.
Of what article?
Page 14, bottom
Okay.
right-hand corner, section
Hold on
4.
a second. Can we go in order from the beginning? Anybody have a problem with the first one?
Good
And
point.
so forth.
Good point.
Oh, by the way, the ladies have, lunch prepared for us. So I would move to, or somebody can move to suspend our discussion until after we've eaten lunch.
So second.
However, while everybody's still interested, I hear it in your breathing. Okay, I just have one question. Did everybody appreciate those pictures we took last convention? You know why? Because everybody cooperated. It's now time for us to take pictures for the next issue and for publicity of our group. First a group, then I need a picture of the members here are members of the board. And then I need another picture of all past and current national commanders. Where we'll do it is we'll go outside the bar, the lounge, whatever we call it here, center lounge. And in that little area that's open in front of the trees, we'll form a section. Please cooperate. You won't see what I see at the lens. And if you're standing behind someone and I say, move to the left, that means you're military left, okay? And you go there until you see the camera lens and the camera can then see you. And that doesn't mean that you've got somebody in front of you and you can see the camera like this. We want to see the whole face. Okay, so if you please cooperate, we'll get this done quickly. I'll have the stuff that I really need in the publicity thing. And bring your covers.
After lunch or?
This will be right now, before lunch. That way you'll be hungry and we'll get through this fast.
Yeah.
Your pseudo picture.